Diane Korak from Moscow, Idaho. I was born before the EPA and the Wilderness Act were passed. I grew up in the Midwest where rivers were green or brown and vast, beautiful native prairies had been long turned to corn. I'd never seen a clean river until I was 12, and when I saw a mountain stream, I was absolutely amazed by clean water dancing over rocks. Before the EPA was created, the Cuyahoga River caught on fire from waste in the river. Air pollution in big cities was a serious health problem. Environmental laws cleaned up rivers and air and improved health. Now the EPA tackles the looming problem of climate change. And there's no believing or not believing in climate change, as the science of this environmental problem is clear. I'm not going back to the days of rivers on fire so that large corporations can have larger profits. The jobs that we will supposedly regain due to decreasing regulations are a ruse to convince people to let Republican politicians dirty their air. The Wilderness Act protected land and wildlife that can never be remade, like those prairies I never saw. Growing up in the Midwest, I saw how completely humans can destroy a habitat. Some people in Idaho may think we can never destroy our wilderness, but I'm quite sure we can. And will, if we take away protection and turn public land into state, then private. Wilderness is the source of clean air, water, wildlife, and plants that need to be protected for generations to come. It is also a source of mental healing for many who spend time away from the crowds. We can't be so greedy to think we can steal it from our children. Our environment is our life. Please don't give it away to polluters so polluters can profit. Maintain a strong and independent EPA as well as the Department of Interior and USDA that maintain our public lands. Thank you.
My name is Sarah Packybush. I'm from Swan Valley, Idaho, which most of you have never heard of. It's on the east side. Represent. So my understanding growing up in Idaho, as I have my entire life, is that two things that we can be very proud of in Idaho is our forest and our wilderness and our agriculture. And I'm going to put this into terms that I think that most politicians can understand. Our agriculture brings us money, and it mostly runs on the backs of immigrants. So if we get rid of those, what will happen to our agricultural practices here? And two, without the forests and rivers that bring in so much fishing and world-class fishing and hunting that bring people in from around the world, and tourism, what are we going to do without that? So my question to all of our representatives is what will happen to Idaho without all of our agriculture and wilderness areas?
So my name is Laurel Hickey, and I'm a student here in Moscow, and I've grown up surrounded by the facts and figures of climate change. As part of the generation that will be impacted down the road by climate change, I've always felt that something needed to be done to create change. But as a 14-year-old in Idaho, I felt largely powerless in the face of a nation doing so little right now. Being here tonight is one thing I can do to help get the message across on behalf of my generation. And I'd like to ask our senators to take one of the many possible steps to protect our environment and our future generations.
Steve Flynn from Moscow. Before I mention my concern, I would like to thank our senators for working across the aisle to introduce the Radiation Exposure Compensation Act of 2017. Now, my concern is that the administration has an anti-science policy where they are cutting any science project related to climate change. The administration seems to want to send us back to the dark age. Our senators need to have some backbone and prevent the administration from dismantling climate change research.
I'm Karen Ward. I'm a proud fourth-generation Idahoan. And I live on a small farm in Latah County. I have not been paid to be here, and I had important things at home to do tonight having to do with my job, but I'm here instead. I will also not be paid when I go to Boise in a couple of weeks to rally for public lands in public hands. I have three questions for our senators and representatives. First, do you accept or not accept the proposition that climate change is real and that it is caused by human activity? If you do not accept this proposition, have you ever sat down with a climate scientist not affiliated with the fossil fuel industry to gain understanding about the scientific basis for the belief that climate change is anthropogenic? My third question is, will you pledge to do so, please? And then one more comment. After you pledged to do that and learned about it, please support the Paris Climate Accord.
Yeah, my name's Vaughn Walden. I'm from Moscow, and I'm actually a climate scientist. I don't believe in it. It's just science. I grew up in rural Montana. I went to a 3-room schoolhouse, and I'm a product of public education. Now I'm a professor at a Pac-12 school. I have been literally to the ends of the earth. I've spanned about 172 degrees of latitude. I've worked all day at -40. I've frostbit skin off my face. I've been in a plane wreck on the Antarctic Plateau, and I've fallen through sea ice in the Arctic Ocean. So I don't feel like I'm a hoax. I don't feel like I'm making up my data. I feel like I'm out there working hard to get the data. And I have sat down with Senator Crapo before about a climate change project. And I would be happy to sit down again to go over this one more time. The project that I talked to you about before, Senator Crapo, was the possibility that climate change will affect the water resources in our state. That's still impending, and so we obviously should chat again about what the current science says, and I'd be happy to meet with you at any time. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Eva Halvick from Moscow, Idaho. And we need health care for everybody because I'm dreadfully concerned about our environment. And because of our environment, more and more and more people are having these health concerns. How many people heard or knew somebody with cancer 20 years ago? Right? How many do you know now? Right. So it's on an increase. Okay, I was an English major from University of Idaho. I had to take a science course. It's pretty basic. Oxygen is O2. We breathe it in, it gives us life. When we produce the emissions of CO2 through the energy that we are operating on as a nation with our cars, it produces CO2. The trees that are in our environment and in our wilderness, the greatest, largest roadless area in Idaho, which I am extremely proud of and one reason I live here, those trees absorb the CO2 and then convert it to oxygen, which we need to breathe. So clear cutting and anything that destroys those trees is harming our health. Water, H2O, it holds oxygen as well, also very necessary to our health. I'm also a health practitioner, and I have people coming to me all the time with many problems, and basically it's dehydration and lack of nutrients and supplements in the body. We need to really be concerned about our environment more than anything else right now. And also, it's not right here in Idaho, but it is coming up our streams through the fishes swimming. Fukushima is streaming at enormous amounts at this moment. And senators, representatives, please do something now. This is extremely scary for all of us. All of us are living in fear. Another health concern, another reason we need health care for all of our citizens. Thank you so much.
Where's that camera? All right. My name's Gary McFarland. I live in the county outside of Troy. The eminent biologist E.O. Wilson tells us that we're in the 6th great extinction caused by human beings. This not only threatens all the other life forms we share the planet with, but ourselves. He said we need to protect about 50% of the planet as wilderness. Idaho is lucky. 2/3 of our lands are public lands. I'm asking you, senators and representatives, to support the Northern Rockies Ecosystem Protection Act. No, it won't get us to 50%, but it's a good first step.
We're going to take a real quick break. We're coming back to environment. But these chairs are really uncomfortable. So we're going to take 10 minutes, but I want to say